inside of the Little Aturi Forest. Now, animals that live out here blend in very well with their natural surroundings, so definitely keep a sharp eye out, as you may never know what we're going to be seeing. Now, right off the bat, we haven't even officially entered, and I do see about 2 antelopes here on the left. We'll talk about them in just a moment. You're going to see 2 different types, okay? So there's one that's very copper in color, has horns that lean backwards, also has about 13 stripes on its body. So once again, the copper colored ones that you're seeing are known as bongos. They're nicknamed the ghost of the forest. Now they do happen to get that nickname because they tend to run pretty fast and swiftly through the bushes, but what allows them to do so is the shaping of their horns. Now the other ones that are not so coppered in color, a little bit taller toward the back here on the left, those are known as greater kudus. They're actually the second tallest antelopes in Africa. Now these aren't the only animals you can see out here, because toward the right hand side you might notice an animal that looks a little bit mysterious. Looks like it has the body of the horse and the legs of a zebra. Now that animal is known as the okapi. Now the okapi was actually said to be a myth once, but it was actually discovered in the Western world by 1901. It actually is the only known living relative of the giraffe as well. If anyone happens to look on the right hand side at the top of the hill, you might notice this very large bird that is a saddle-billed stork, obviously getting its name for that yellow saddle-shaped tab that's actually on its bill. But everyone, take a look on the left. You guys see this black rhino taking a nap here just along the rock wall? I'm going to pull up a little bit further so everyone can see. He's taking a nap by the clay wall toward the left. Now, unfortunately for black rhinos, they are being poached by poachers for their horns. Now their horns are actually made out of keratin. Keratin being the same exact substance that make up our own very same hair and fingernails. However, in other places of the world, they are seen to be used for medicinal purposes. Now we are going to be making our way out of the Little Aturi Forest, but we are going to head right on in toward Safi River. Now Safi River does give us an opportunity to spot some of Africa's most dangerous aquatic animals. Kind of like the Nile crocodile or even the Nile hippopotamus. Now we definitely do have to go very poly around this area, which means very slowly. As you can see, we do have lots of tight turns around this area. Hopefully we can spot some hippos underneath the water. So if you see water, definitely look out for any of those bubbles or ripples. You might be able to see some hippos. Now, just behind you on the right hand side, you can catch a small glimpse of a hippo there. Hopefully we can get a better view just here up ahead. See what we can find. Now, a group of hippos is actually known as a bloat. So hopefully we can spot a bloat of hippos up here. Oh, and there we go. You see them here on the left hand side? They're just hanging out in the water. Now, hippos at birth can actually weigh about 85 pounds, but when they're fully grown, males can actually weigh as much as 5,500 pounds. Now, female hippos weigh just a little bit less. Now, these animals can swim, but what they prefer to do is just sink down to the bottom of the water and kind of walk. And if you've ever wondered how long can a hippo hold its breath, it's actually for about 8 minutes. Now this area here is also home to the pink-backed pelicans, which are these pelicans you see on the left, white-breasted cormorants, and many other animals. However, we will need everyone to remain seated here because we're going to be going over this rickety bridge, and just underneath you're going to be noticing a lot of Nile crocodiles. Now these animals can actually weigh up to about 500 pounds. They also have a jaw-crushing power, about 2,000 pounds, and that is per square inch of those jaw muscles. Now, during warmer weathers, you can sometimes see these animals with their jaws wide open. Now, this is completely normal because it allows them to pull down their body temperatures in that way. Now, we are going to be making our way over this hill into a completely different ecosystem we're heading toward. So we're going to leave a lot of this dense vegetation behind, and we're going to look for some more wide open spaces. So that's why we're heading up to one of my favorite areas. It's known as the Serengeti grasslands. Now the animals that do live in this area all definitely work together to keep the environment looking as great as it does. Now before we make our way in, if you want to kind of look at this tree on the right hand side, it looks a little bit different than you see trees that you've seen nowadays. Now this tree is known as a baobab tree. Now baobab trees also get a nickname like the upside down tree because it, well, looks like it's upside down. But the reasoning is because this tree goes leafless for about 9 months out of the year, and it stores water in those trunks of theirs. It also definitely helps out animals during the drought season because animals like elephants will grab their tusks, scrape off the bark, and then chew them to kind of get some of the water out. So it's really neat. Now here we are into the Serengeti. We see lots of animals coming up to us. So as soon as we get a little bit closer up to them, we'll talk about them. But on the right hand side, we're going to start off with the Ankole cattle. Now it's the cattle there with the really large horns. Now they also get the nickname Watusi cattle. They were actually being domesticated by the Watusi tribe. Now their horns do in fact look very, very heavy, but they're actually not heavy whatsoever. They're actually completely hollow in the inside. They also have blood vessels allowing the animal to keep cool. Now in Africa, it's said that the Ankole cattle that are solid brownish, kind of red, are actually of more value than the ones that have the white on them. And you can see the different ones up here to our right hand side. Now you can also see a tower of giraffes in the distance. Now no worries, we'll get a little closer here in just a few moments. You just have lots of animals and I definitely don't want you guys to miss out on them. Now if you take a look out here toward the left hand side, now I'm not really talking about the vultures, but kind of behind you on the left you might see some animals kind of sleeping. Those are African wild dogs. They're better known as painted dogs because of the unique markings you can actually see on their coats. They're a little bit harder to see because they're kind of shoved way in the back there. Let's see if we can find some a little closer. You see the ones that are still sleeping out there. Now, African wild dogs are actually one of the most successful hunting animals in Africa. They can actually capture their prey about 80% of the time compared to the lion's only 10%. Out here on the left, you can see some zebras. Oh, and just after the zebras, you can also spot some sable antelopes. Now, sable antelopes are known to be the official emblem, or you can even say the mascot to our reserve here. Some more zebras out here on the left. Now, we usually get the questions, are zebra white with black stripes or black with white? Well, if you look at their hoofs and if you look at their noses, you can see that they're black. So they're actually black with white stripes. Now it does look like we're coming a little bit closer up here to some Maasai giraffe. I can tell this is a Maasai giraffe just by looking at its pattern. They're very dark, jagged, irregular, all very different to one another. Now giraffes at birth can start off an incredible 6 feet tall, but once fully grown, they'll be about 18 to 20 feet. On the top of their heads, you can actually see those bone-like structures. Those are known as ossicones. Now, sometimes if you get close enough to a giraffe, you can actually notice that their tongue is also black. Now, that's actually a blacker, kind of purplish tongue, just because it changes that color just to make sure that they don't get sunburned, because most of the time it's actually spent sleeping. Excuse me, not sleeping, eating. Giraffes actually don't sleep much at all. Fun fact, they only sleep about 30 minutes in a day into 5 to 10 minute increments. You can still see that giraffe there on the left. Coming up to another Ankole cattle on the right hand side. You can also see a whole herd of white bearded wildebeest straight ahead. Wildebeest are nicknamed New, not N-E-W, but G-N-U, known from a grunting noise that they make. They're known to be one of Africa's largest migrational groups of animals in the world. Just to the left of the wildebeest, you can actually see a whole herd of springbok as well. Springbok are those tiny antelopes that kind of s'more color. Now they're actually very fast as well. They can usually run about 50 miles per hour, and they also have a pretty impressive how high they leap into the air, pretty much giving them that name Springbok. They can actually go about, I think it's a very high number, about 13 feet forward is what they've been known to leap, but they've also been known to go about 6 feet straight up into the air. Now we are going to be making our way here toward Monkey Point. Now it's usually home here to a troop of mandrills. Now mandrills are some of the largest monkeys. Let's see if we can get a glimpse of them. Or maybe even some other animals out here. Oh, if you take a look here on the left, you guys see them? The mandrills? Now you can definitely tell when you found them because they have a very bright colored backside, as you can see.
Way up in the front.
Usually the brighter the face of the backside would normally mean that that animal there is the more dominant one out of all of them. Females can weigh about 20 to 40 pounds. Males can actually weigh up to about 100 pounds. You can kind of see a little tiny one with mom on the rock, you see? It's like they're grooming one another there. If you want to take a look on the right hand side, something really cool. Do you see the elephant?
Oh, there's an elephant over here, guys.
Now we're actually going to be making our way over toward elephant country now, so hopefully we can spot a whole group of elephants. Now believe it or not, elephants have the second longest childhood other than humans. They typically spend about 16 to 18 years out of their lives with their mothers. Now when female elephants though are of age, what they do is, well, stay with the mother in the herd. And they'll live in something known as a matriarchal society. Whereas male elephants like to live alone or in a small group of bachelor males just till about mating season. Now we are almost there. A very good indicator to let us know we're nearby some more elephants lies just underneath this bridge. Now if you want to take a look on the left, if you're closest to the left, if you want to take a look on the right, if you're closest to the right, you look at these mud wallows. Now coming up, you'll notice lots of animal tusk markings. Elephants, believe it or not, love to eat clay. Not only does the clay, well, taste really good to them, but it's also really good for them, giving them a chance to receive some beneficial minerals. Even some of those minerals which are kind of hard to receive out there in the wild. Now it does look like we're coming up to a herd of elephants. We're getting a little bit closer to them. We're going to pull up to the middle there. Alrighty folks, take a look here on the left hand side. You're actually seeing a whole herd of elephants. You can see that smaller one as well. Now you can definitely tell that these elephants here are African elephants just because their ears are actually shaped just like the continent of Africa. Now, elephants actually tend to cool down because of their ears. If you notice, they actually have little blood vessels on them. They can actually cool their body temperatures down about 15 degrees less than whatever they originally are, which is pretty neat because it happens in seconds. So, pretty much to say that they stay cool most of their time. Now, just like we talked about earlier with the baobab tree, you can definitely see we have another one here. So, as I said earlier, elephants, oh, those are the little ones coming up to the water. Elephants definitely love to scrape off as much bark as possible off those baobab trees just to kind of chew it and receive as much water as possible. And it definitely does come in handy during the drought seasons. On the left hand side, folks, you're actually seeing a flock of pelicans here. Well, I should say flamboyants because that's a group of flamingos. I also said pelicans, I shouldn't have. But if you look at the island that they're actually resting on, it's actually shaped like a giant Mickey. I don't know if you can see it, but a little bit further from us, you can see two Mickey ears, and then you can see the head. Now, if there's any flamingos that you notice that are a little gray in color, those are actually younger flamingos. It usually takes them about a year or so to kind of get to that really pink color that you see. They actually get that pink color from eating some brine shrimp. Now we are going to go ahead and make our way out of the savannah, but we're going to head into East Savannah where we actually spot lots of animals like the rhino. So not the black rhinos, but we're going to be seeing some white rhinos here, hopefully. Now they do tend to kind of hang around this area, particularly over toward the right. So if we don't see them here immediately, once we make our way around, we should be able to spot them. Don't see them just yet, so we're gonna have to make our way around, but something I definitely do see up ahead on the left hand side, you are gonna see the fastest land animal on earth. Now actually staring right at us, which is a great photo. So I'm gonna pull up a little bit further here. You might be able to spot a few cheetahs. Now they are the fastest land animals on earth because they can run up speeds of about 60 miles per hour. However, they can only keep that up for about 30 seconds or so at a time because they do tend to overheat. So cheetahs, unlike other large cats that use their sense of smell to hunt, they actually rely on their eyesight heavily. So what cheetahs actually like to do is kind of sit back in the bush or behind a giant rock, kind of wait for the prey to get closer, and then that's when they'll lunge toward them. But they have that really small period of time where they have to go ahead and grab their prey before they get tired. You can see another group of cheetahs here on the left hand side, a little bit clearer than the first ones that we saw. Oh, okay. There is two cheetahs. Let's see if we can spot those rhinos. Also around the corner, we usually get to spot some larger cats as well. Now this rock formation here is actually known as a Kofi rock. Kofi in Swahili meaning large isolated rock. Now these rocks actually belong to a pride of lions. However, lions do tend to sleep about 18 to 20 hours of their day. So most of the day is actually spent resting. Oh, and I see those rhinos. I'll let you know. Oh, I actually also see the lions. Okay, so here on the left-hand side, you can see a male lion. You can also see a female resting. I'm going to stop in the middle because I want you guys to be able to see the lions, but I also want you to see on the right-hand side, we have those white rhinos. We also have the bonteboks, or little brown antelopes there. Now, unfortunately for the bonteboks, they were actually hunted nearly to extinction, to the point where there was less about 13 of them, but thankfully a farmer in Africa did grab, kind of rescued whatever bonteboks he saw in the wild and helped them reproduce to the point where their numbers are being slowly, well, they're being slowly reintroduced in the wild, but their numbers are raising, which is really well. So these animals are slowly getting off the endangered species list, all thanks to that one farmer. Now we saw some lions, we saw some rhinos, we saw some bonteboks, and here on the left-hand side, this is actually home of the warthog. Now it's going to be a little bit hard to see them, but I'm going to point them out to you. So look out here toward the left, kind of behind that one giant tree. Now the warthog, it does at this moment, I'm not going to lie, look like a rock, a little fuzzy rock, but you're going to see its little tusks sticking straight up. So I'm kind of pointing in that direction. You see where that kind of lighter colored rock, the copper colored rock, you see a tree, and then just past that tree to the right, you're actually, yes, I heard someone say two, you're going to see two warthogs there sleeping. Now they are the largest burrowing animals, and they build those burrows that you see with those tusks that they have. Now lots of predators in the wild don't typically think, they just kind of act because out of desperation. But what warthogs do to keep themselves protected is to back themselves in the burrows with their tusks straight out. Because any predators that go in there are gonna, you know, get quite a bit of a surprise. We got some ostrich eggs on the right as well there, folks. Now they are real, but unfortunately they're not gonna be hatching because the ostriches aren't here, are not fertile. But if they were to hatch, can you believe it only takes about 45 days for an ostrich egg to hatch? Now, one ostrich egg is also the equivalent of 1 dozen eggs. What's also pretty spectacular about these ostrich eggs is that an average human can actually stand on them. and it won't do anything to the egg. I don't recommend doing it. I'm just trying to point to you and tell you how strong an ostrich it really is. Now this here is one of our up and coming areas, and our wardens have been working really hard to make it look pretty and nice, and hopefully it would be the home to some animals here in the future. So you definitely want to come back around and see what this area is going to end up as, because I'm excited as well. Now folks, unfortunately those green gates that we are going to be going by do mean that we are coming up to the ending of our safari here. Now I do have to drop you back off to the nearest warden's post, but from there it's just a short hike back into the Harambe village. Now at the Harambe village you have plenty of things to go do and see, such as you can walk toward the